Hello, fellow travellers. Now, I'm not exactly known for my love of spicy food or bustling crowds, but even I can't deny the allure of India. It's a land of vibrant colours, ancient traditions, and, well, quite a lot of people. Whether you're a seasoned explorer or a first-time visitor, India is an experience unlike any other. It's a place where you'll find serene beauty and chaotic charm in equal measure. And frankly, who doesn't enjoy a bit of chaos now and then? Over the next few chapters, we'll delve into the practicalities of navigating this incredible country. We'll cover everything from visas and vaccinations to the art of haggling for souvenirs. So buckle up and let's embark on this virtual journey together. I promise it'll be far less bumpy than a ride in a Mumbai taxi. Right then, before you even think about packing your bags, we need to address the boring but crucial bits: visas and vaccinations. Now, I know paperwork isn't exactly thrilling, but trust me, it's far less hassle than being turned away at the airport. Make sure you apply for your Indian visa well in advance, as the process can be, shall we say, leisurely. As for vaccinations, consult your doctor for the most up-to-date recommendations. It's better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to something like Delhi belly. And speaking of essentials, let's talk about what to pack. A universal adapter is a must unless you fancy your phone turning into a very expensive paperweight. And while we're on the subject of technology, a portable charger is your best friend. India's a place where you'll want to capture every moment, and the last thing you need is your phone dying just as you're about to snap a selfie with a sacred cow. Now, when it comes to packing for India, less is definitely more. Trust me, you don't want to be the person lugging a massive suitcase through crowded train stations. Pack light, breathable clothing, and don't forget a scarf or shawl to cover your shoulders when entering temples. A good pair of walking shoes is essential, as you'll be doing a fair bit of exploring on foot. And if you're planning on visiting during monsoon season, pack a lightweight raincoat, because when it rains in India, it really pours. Now, I know what you're thinking, James, what about the tea? Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. While India is famous for its tea, I recommend packing your own tea bags just in case you find yourself craving a proper brew. And finally, a small first aid kit is always a good idea. Just pack the essentials: plasters, antiseptic wipes, and perhaps something for an upset stomach, just in case that Delhi belly strikes. Now, India is generally a safe country, but like anywhere else in the world, it pays to be aware of your surroundings. In crowded places, keep a close eye on your belongings. Pickpockets can be a nuisance, especially in tourist hotspots. It's also wise to avoid wandering around alone at night, especially in unfamiliar areas. Stick to well-lit streets and consider using a reputable taxi service. And speaking of taxis, always agree on a fare before you set off to avoid any, shall we say, misunderstandings. Now, let's talk about scams. India is unfortunately home to a few cunning individuals who prey on unsuspecting tourists. One classic is the gem scam, where someone will try to sell you worthless stones at inflated prices. My advice? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Stick to reputable shops and be wary of anyone who approaches you on the street offering unsolicited deals. Speaking of avoiding unwanted expenses, let's talk about travel insurance. It may seem like an unnecessary expense, but trust me, it's worth its weight in gold if something goes wrong. From medical emergencies to lost luggage, a good insurance policy will give you peace of mind. Now back to scams. Another common one is the fake tour guide. These friendly locals will offer to show you around for a small fee, but they often lead you to overpriced shops or simply disappear with your money. If you're looking for a guide, book through a reputable agency or your hotel. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And remember, a healthy dose of skepticism can go a long way in avoiding these scams. And one last tip, beware of monkeys. Yes, you heard that right, monkeys. They're notorious for snatching food, sunglasses, and even cameras. So keep your valuables close and resist the urge to feed them, no matter how cute they may seem. Right then, chaps, let's talk about the crown jewel of India, the Taj Mahal. It's a bit like the Eiffel Tower of India, only, actually impressive. This ivory-white marble mausoleum on the banks of the Yamuna River in Agra is truly a sight to behold. Built by the Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan in memory of his third wife Mumtaz Mahal, it's a testament to love, loss and architectural brilliance. You see, Mumtaz Mahal died during childbirth, leaving the emperor utterly heartbroken. Now, I know what you're thinking. Building a massive marble tomb isn't exactly the most conventional way to express grief, but who are we to judge? The result is stunning, a masterpiece of Mughal architecture and quite a nice gesture, if you ask me. Fun fact, did you know it took over 22,000 laborers and 1,000 elephants to build this monumental wonder? It's true, it's practically bursting at the seams with history and grandeur. Next we venture to Jaipur, the Pink City. Now don't let the name fool you, it's not actually entirely pink, it's more of a terracotta hue really, but it's still quite a sight. Jaipur is a vibrant city bursting with culture, history and yes, palaces, lots and lots of palaces. The Hawa Mahal or the Palace of Winds is a must-see. It's a 5-story pyramidal structure with 953 small windows. Imagine that, 953 windows, I can't even keep the windows of my garage clean. Apparently, these windows were designed to allow royal ladies to observe everyday life without being seen themselves. Clever girls. And while you're at it, pop by the city palace, a sprawling complex of courtyards, gardens and buildings that's still home to the former royal family of Jaipur. It's like a history lesson, but with better snacks. Now, for those who prefer something a bit more off the beaten track, may I suggest Hampi. This UNESCO World Heritage Site in Karnataka is a treasure trove of ancient ruins. Imagine a place where time seems to stand still, where ancient temples rise amidst giant boulders, and where the ghosts of the Vijayanagara Empire still linger. It's the perfect place to contemplate the mysteries of the universe, or at least find some peace and quiet. Hampi was once a thriving city, one of the largest and richest in the world, in fact. But alas, all good things must come to an end. It was sacked by a coalition of Deccan sultanates in the 16th century, leaving behind a haunting yet beautiful landscape of ruins. And listen to this, legend has it that Hampi is the birthplace of Hanuman, the monkey god in the Hindu epic Ramayana. They even have a monkey temple on a hilltop, although I wouldn't recommend trying to take a banana from them. Now, if you're feeling adventurous, and I know you are, let's talk about Spiti Valley. Nestled high in the Himalayas, this remote region is often called Little Tibet. Imagine a landscape of snow-capped mountains, crystal-clear lakes and ancient monasteries clinging precariously to cliffs. It's not exactly the easiest place to get to, mind you, but that's all part of the charm, isn't it? Spiti Valley is home to some of the oldest and highest inhabited villages in the world. The air is thin, the silence is deafening, and the views are simply breathtaking. It's the perfect place to disconnect from the hustle and bustle of modern life and reconnect with nature, assuming you can cope with the altitude, of course. Pack a good book, a warm coat, and maybe an oxygen tank. Now let's talk about views, shall we? And when it comes to scenic beauty, India certainly doesn't disappoint. First up, we have the Himalayas, the highest mountain range in the world. From the snow-capped peaks of Nanda Devi to the majestic Kanchenjunga, the Himalayas are a sight to behold. Whether you're a seasoned trekker or just enjoy a good mountain view, the Himalayas will leave you speechless. Imagine standing amidst towering peaks, crisp mountain air filling your lungs, prayer flags fluttering in the wind. It's enough to make you want to write a poem or at least take a selfie. Just remember to pack a good pair of walking boots and a warm jacket. It gets a bit nippy up there, even in the summer. And don't forget your camera, you'll want to capture these memories. Now for something completely different, let's head west to the Thar Desert. Now I know what you're thinking, a desert? Really? But trust me on this one, the Thar Desert, also known as the Great Indian Desert, is a vast expanse of sand dunes, scrub forests and salt lakes. It's a harsh yet beautiful landscape full of unexpected surprises. Imagine yourself riding a camel across the dunes, the sun beating down on your back, the wind whipping through your hair. It's an experience unlike any other, like something out of Lawrence of Arabia, but with fewer sandstorms, hopefully. The Thar Desert is also home to a rich cultural heritage. You'll find ancient forts, vibrant villages and colourful festivals. It's a place where time seems to move a little slower and where the simple things in life are cherished. Right then, chaps, now that we've covered the essentials, let's talk about fitting in. India has its own unique etiquette, nothing too outlandish, but worth a quick once-over. A polite namaste goes a long way. It's their way of saying hello. Hands pressed together with a slight bow. Another thing, shoes. Leave them at the door when entering homes or temples. Remember where you left them. And speaking of temples, dress modestly. Cover your shoulders and knees. Think of it as dressing for a warm garden party. Now, on the subject of faux pas, using your left hand for eating or passing things is generally frowned upon. Apparently, it's considered a tad uncouth, a bit like using your fish knife for pudding. Stick to your right hand, it's the done thing. Public displays of affection are also best avoided. A bit like trying to explain the appeal of Top Gear to your grandmother. It's just not going to go down well. Keep the hand-holding and smooching for elsewhere. There's a good chap. Haggling is practically a national sport in India, particularly at markets. Don't be shy about negotiating a bit. It's all part of the experience. Think of it as a friendly game of badminton, except instead of a shuttlecock, you're battling over the price of a rather fetching scarf. And lastly, a word on the head wobble. You'll see locals doing this curious side-to-side head movement, which can mean anything from yes to I understand to that's a rather fetching scarf you're trying to sell me. Don't try to master it yourself, though. You'll only end up looking like you're trying to dislodge a rogue peanut. Now, let's talk about something close to my heart, or rather, my stomach food. Indian cuisine is a glorious explosion of flavours, a bit like a well-tuned engine roaring to life. It's an adventure for your taste buds, and trust me, you're in for a treat. From the aromatic spices to the sheer variety of dishes, it's a culinary journey you won't soon forget. You've got your curries, of course, each region boasting its own unique take, like a fleet of classic cars, each with its own quirks and charms. But don't just stop at curries. Be sure to sample street food like chaat, a delightful explosion of textures and flavours, sort of like a well-executed four-wheel drift. Messy but exhilarating. And then there's dosa, a crispy, savoury pancake that's as satisfying as a perfectly parallel parked car. And of course, no culinary adventure in India would be complete without a generous helping of biryani, a fragrant rice dish with meat or vegetables. It's the culinary equivalent of a comfortable grand tourer, reliable, satisfying and always a pleasure. Now a word of caution. While the food in India is generally fantastic, it's best to be a bit cautious, especially when it comes to street food. You don't want to end up sidelined with a case of Delhi belly, which, trust me, is about as pleasant as a flat tire in a monsoon. Stick to places that look clean and hygienic, and when in doubt, ask your hotel for recommendations. They'll be able to steer you in the right direction, much like a trusty GPS navigating you through a roundabout. Don't be afraid to experiment, but perhaps start with milder dishes and work your way up to the spicier options. It's like learning to drive a manual transmission. You don't want to stall out right from the start. And remember, bottled water is your friend. Stay hydrated, especially in the heat, and your stomach will thank you for it. After all, you want to spend your time exploring ancient temples and bustling markets, not glued to the toilet. Now, getting around India is an experience in itself, a bit like trying to navigate a roundabout during rush hour. It's chaotic, it's vibrant, and it requires a certain sense of adventure. But fear not, my intrepid traveller. I'm here to guide you through the labyrinthine network of transportation options. First up, you've got your auto rickshaws, those ubiquitous three-wheeled chariots that dart through traffic. They're a cheap and cheerful way to get around town. For longer distances, trains are your best bet. India's railway network connects every corner of this incredible country. And if you're short on time, there are always domestic flights. They're relatively affordable and can whisk you from Delhi to Mumbai quickly. Now, a word of advice when it comes to taxis. Always, and I mean always, agree on a price before you set off. Otherwise, you might find yourself parting with more rupees than you intended, which is about as much fun as discovering a slow puncture on a bank holiday. And speaking of punctures, if you're feeling adventurous and fancy tackling the Indian roads yourself, you can always hire a car. But be warned, driving in India is not for the faint of heart. It's a symphony of honking horns, weaving scooters, and the occasional sacred cow ambling down the middle of the road. Think of it as a real-life game of Mario Kart, only instead of banana peels, you've got potholes to dodge. But hey, if you can handle the madness, it's an experience you won't soon forget. Just remember, patience is key when navigating the Indian transportation system. It's all part of the adventure. And besides, it gives you more time to savor that delicious cup of chai. Right, so you've seen the Taj Mahal, you've braved the traffic, you've even managed to eat a dosa without making a mess of yourself. Now it's time for the real challenge, navigating the bustling bazaars of India. Now, I'm not talking about some sterile shopping mall experience. This is the real deal, old boy, a symphony of sights, sounds, and smells. First rule of engagement, never accept the first price. Think of it like a friendly game of chess, a subtle dance of wit and willpower. The shopkeeper will inevitably start high, hoping you'll flinch. But you, my friend, are made of sterner stuff. A polite but firm shake of the head, a slight frown of contemplation, and then you counter with a price so low it would make a Scotsman blush. Now, don't be afraid to walk away if you're not getting anywhere. Sometimes a bit of strategic retreat is all it takes to sweeten the deal, and who knows, you might even find a better bargain just around the corner. Now, what can you expect to find in these treasure troves of trinkets and textiles? Well, Chandni Chowk in Delhi is a sensory overload of spices, silks, and silverware. You could spend days getting lost in its labyrinthine alleyways, emerging with bags full of exotic spices and enough fabric to clothe a small village. Mumbai's Colaba Causeway is another must-visit for the discerning shopper. From antique furniture to vintage Bollywood posters, it's a treasure trove of unique and quirky finds. Just be prepared to haggle hard, old bean. These seasoned vendors can spot a novice from a mile away. And if you're looking for something truly special, something to remind you of your Indian adventure, why not pick up a hand-knotted rug? They're a bit bulky to carry home, granted, but think of the bragging rights. Just imagine the look on your neighbor's face when you tell them you haggled for it in a bustling Indian market. Priceless. Now, I've shared with you the must-see sights, the culinary delights, and even the art of haggling like a seasoned pro. But there's one last experience, one hidden gem that I've saved for last. It's a place that truly captured my heart, a place where the Himalayas seem to touch the heavens. I'm talking about a little village nestled high in the mountains, a place where time seems to stand still. I won't spoil the surprise by revealing its name, but let's just say it's not on the usual tourist trail. You won't find any five-star hotels or fancy restaurants here, just the warm hospitality of the locals and a sense of peace that's hard to find in our hectic world. Imagine waking up to the sound of birdsong, the air crisp and clean, the only traffic a herd of goats making their way up the mountainside. Days are spent exploring ancient monasteries, sipping yak butter tea with the locals and soaking up the breathtaking views. It's a place to reconnect with nature, to find solace in the silence, to simply breathe. And as you stand there gazing out at the majestic Himalayas, you can't help but feel a sense of awe, a profound sense of peace that stays with you long after you've left. And there you have it, folks. With these tips in your travel arsenal, you're all set for an incredible adventure in India. Remember to embrace the culture, savor the food, and most importantly, have fun. Safe travels and see you on the next journey.